Hi, everybody, and welcome to Threads from Gallifrey. We are here today with Rob and Tony, and later on in the show, we're going to be talking to Phil Vecchione and Walt Jaskowski, who wrote the book about GMing sessions. And I want to turn to our resident Game Master experts here, Rob and Tony, about some of the things we're going to be talking about. One of the things right at the beginning of the book they talk about is the physical space of gaming. I mean, your actual environment. I mean, they recommend going around the game table and sitting where all of your players are going to sit. And what do they see? Are they going to be distracted by a poster that's inappropriate? Will there be something inspirational? Will they be looking out a window at a car going by or a cute girl sunbathing across the street? What are the distractions? What are the things that help? What are the physical things in the room that is going to enhance or set back your attempts at running a really awesome game? So, guys, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, gosh, where to begin? First of all, we have played in a number of different places, so there are a lot of things that we could talk about here. The first thing, I guess, is probably we can just go over the places we have played. For Threat Detected, we played at the UB campus there in a classroom with the
College
full,
classroom.
yep, desks and chalkboard and all that good stuff. We've played a vast number of games in my fiancee Lauren's basement at her parents' house. Yep.
Classic, a basement.
Yep. A finished basement nonetheless. But,
A nice basement.
Yep. We've played games over at our friend at Josh's house. He plays Carson. You guys all know. We've played out at his house in Clarence, which is out in like the woods and stuff. It's pretty nice.
At his kitchen table, you can see out the back into the woods and stuff.
Yep. We have played in a tent in the woods when we've been camping.
We've played on a table in the woods while we've been camping.
Yes. We've also most recently been playing at our new house in the living room up here, my place. That's kind of been our most recent one. Am I leaving anything out?
Those are the big main ones. Every once in a while, different classrooms at UB.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are kind of all the big ones, and all of them probably have their ups and downs. So I guess that's probably the good place to start. So for Threat Detected, right, we played in the major campaign. We played in the classroom there at UB, and I think there were a lot of benefits and a couple drawbacks to that one. Benefits, there was plenty of space. When we swelled up to 15 people in group size, there was room for everyone. Everyone had a surface they could write on because we had like those attached desk chair things, which was great. We had the chalkboard, which was great for initiative. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is when Lauren made the initiative cards drawings for everyone. We laminated those and slapped them right up there. It was a good visual for everyone to kind of keep track of stuff. Apart from that too, the Buffalo Gaming Society, or was it SARPA, that was always running the snack counter and stuff there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was always nice. You could always go out. There were vending machines, or they had candy bars or anything. They ordered pizza. You could do that. So that was kind of a great, community aspect of being there. The kind of downside with that, though, is there was a lot of people always kind of popping in the room, in and out and everything. People coming in, hey, who ordered pizza? People coming in, oh, is this room being used? What are you guys playing in here? So that was, I think, an example of a space that accommodated a lot of needs at the sake of possibly taking away from some parts of the game. Because, when you're in a deep, heavy place, that's the last time you want someone to pop in and be like, hey, pizza's ready.
I think another big thing with if you're going to game in a public space, whether it's your fun local game store or college campus that supports it, there's always the risk that the store owner gets tired of it. There's new management with the college group. And then the next thing you know, you may not have your gaming space anymore, or you have all kinds of new rules on your gaming space.
That happened.
So that did happen to us, and that can be a lot of trouble if you have a game going on and nowhere else to meet up. I mean, you're kind of at the whims of the people that own the place for good or ill. So
that is very,
definitely
very true.
Something to worry about, yeah.
How about for you as a GM, Garrett, running those games there? Did it help you? Did it hinder you? Were there things you liked about it?
I liked about it that it was a space that was very accessible to everybody. We knew where to go. We even knew where our tables and stuff would be 90% of the time, and that was real nice. but there was still like limited table space. I had to bring in the card table to be able to expand to run things while doing the podcast maintenance and have a centralized gaming area. So I don't, and also the tabletops with the desks.
Yeah,
Every
hard to roll.
time you roll the dice,
Yeah.
if you're not doing it on the card table, it falls on the floor every single time.
For sure.
Which slows down the pace of gaming, as you have to hunt for dice every 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, no, if you had anything else, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that I don't think I'd be able to replicate anywhere else is that there's that one session where we pushed all the desks to the side and we used that entire huge floor as a map.
Yeah.
That was something that I don't know that you could get in any space that's
There's
less
that
classroom
huge
size.
run, and there was the battle and AT-ATs and stuff. That was
See?
super cool. I
You
remember
can
that.
hear Rob's excitement pop right up there. I mean, that's clearly left an impression, and that's
man.
something that could only have happened in that space, I think.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, I think my favorite space to game in, probably because we do it a lot, is the basement and your living room, which we have set up to look exactly like Lauren's basement.
It's pretty true.
You know what? We just have 2 coffee table things and a bunch of blue recliners, and we turn off the TV and we just sit down and game for like 8 hours.
Yeah. See, for us, our gaming group is pretty small. It's usually just Rob, myself, and Josh, and occasionally Lauren will pop in. So at her parents' house when we were living there and stuff, they had a nice finished basement. They had a couch, a couple, chairs and everything. And just like Rob said, a coffee table in between. But it was nice. It was a big enough space for us to hang out. It was intimate enough where we could be, close enough to each other. We could control the lighting pretty well.
Quiet.
Yep. One of the things that they did have was a pool table down there, which we utilized quite a bit for role-playing games and for like card games and stuff too. But we used to have many, many huge tactical battles.
Huge Game of Thrones battles, castle sieges, and battles for the wall on that pool table.
Yeah, so a lot of things kind of revolved around that, but that was kind of cool. It was almost like when you're the military commander and they have like the sand tables and everything. It felt very much like that. And now in my living room at our new house, it's, like Rob said, it's very, very much the same setup. So not much has changed there. The biggest development, though, is that we've just finished off part of our basement for the sole purpose of being a gaming space.
Yes!
So there is just a couple small little touches that have to be left done to it, but I think our next campaign that we're starting will be starting down there.
I think it will.
Yep, one wall is all completely shelves, which is going to hold all the role-playing games and board games and everything. We're going to get a nice new table for down there. So that space in particular is going to be very, very geared for that purpose. That when we were, looking to finish off part of the basement, I was like, my priority for this space is to have it be gaming space. So that's what we're heading towards.
I think that no matter where you decide to game, the important part, most important thing is that there's no distractions. Even if you don't put up pictures on the wall, or you don't dress up, as long as you have a quiet space where you can sit down and play and have fun and be loud and stupid and not have people coming in and out, then anywhere's good. A tent in the middle of the rain in the woods, basement. As long as you got a semi-quiet place where you can have fun, I think that's the first, second, and third thing you should worry about.
Well, some of those things, like when we said we were gaming in the woods while we were camping, and at Josh's house and everything, a lot of those added to feel and to theme, and that was part of the reason why we did some of it. Especially, Josh's house, he lives out in Clarence here, so he's got a lot of space, the woods are out there and everything. Whenever we kind of want, just that feel of being, away from things and, out in, the woods and stuff, we're like, Josh, we got a game at your place today. And he goes, okay, and he sets it up, and we go out there, and, we can look out, and it gets dark out there, and it adds very much to that feel.
For our Dresden Files campaign, our in-game character's house was pretty much based off of Josh's dad's real house. So every once in a while, we'd play Dresden Files there, and it'd be like, oh, we're in Connie and Desmond's house. This is great.
And it gave them, because our game was set in Buffalo, so we were like, oh, well, we think that maybe, Connie lives out in Clarence, and we were just like, is it is it Josh's house? Is that what we're going for here? And it came to it. And then, when we gamed out there a few times, it kind of added that extra little connection to them as characters to, say, hey, this is, we're having a scene in the house. I'm sitting at the table my character is sitting at, which is not something you're going to be able to do for, most games, but it was cool. It was fun.
So I want, unless you want to talk more about game space, I want to talk about props and such in that game space. I think I'm excited to talk about that.
Me too. I was wondering a good segue into it, but you can just hit the nail on the head and go straight to it.
Go for it.
Yeah, because, even if you're just ho-hum basement or your bedroom or whatever, sometimes the addition of something a little extra can just make that space, that world come alive for you. It's just, yeah.
And there's so many things here. A prop can be anything from the realistic movie replica of Glamdring, the Sword of Gandalf, down to a light. And what I mean by that is I will give a great example when we were doing Cthulhu, Rob, we in Lauren's basement, they have, the lights were all on different banks, and we turned the lights down so there was only like one light way far back, like at the end of the hallway. So it was dark. You had to like focus a little harder to see your dice, to see your papers and everything. And Cthulhu's a horror game, and we were exploring the haunted house that's at the back of the book and all that stuff. And it just added so much to that feel of, what's in the dark, what's in the shadows.
So much so that I made you jump out of your skin pretty deep.
He so did. We were exploring the haunted house, and first of all, the first time we went in, Rob's like, "Well, it's starting to get darker and stuff," and I was like, "We have to go. We have to go now. No way in hell. We have to go." But then, like the the next time we went back, we were going up the stairs, and I think everything looked okay, and then like we were going down the stairs, and Rob slams his hand as hard as he can on the table, goes, BAM! There's a huge slam, and I literally was able to check what Lauren's mom was making for dinner because my head went through the ceiling. It startled the hell out of me. I was that into it, and part of that was the lights being dark, and that's a very simple thing that you can do. When I did my Star Wars game for them, I kind of did the same thing. I kind of did a little bit of a horror session, and I turned everything off. I just brought like a little lamp thing that I shined right down onto the map and everything to kind of just bring it down. So that's a real simple prop that I don't think a lot of people would think of as a prop. It definitely is.
Yeah. One of my favorite examples was from, I started doing our second session of Game of Thrones.
Yes, I was waiting for this.
So if anyone's watched or read Game of Thrones, one of the biggest parts of it is that they give messages to each other with ravens. They send them to the different castles, and they have messages tied to their legs, and they read them and stuff. So, second session, Tony's character got a letter from, I want to say it was Oberyn maybe, or Robert, or Ned, I can't remember. One of the characters sent him a letter, so I'm like, oh, a raven comes for you, and it's got a letter attached, and I pulled out a letter that I had, I typed it out on the computer in like weird fonty cursive. I folded it up, and then I had actually sealed it with real wax. I had dripped like a candle, I burnt a candle, dripped it, and sealed it with wax, and gave it to him, so he had an actual letter with like the correct color for the house sigil wax.
And he pulled this out of his bag, and I was like, what is this thing? And he's like, if the person hands you a letter, and I was like this letter that you're handing me right now? And I was able to like open it up and read it, and because like it was a letter that only I could read, because only one person can kind of like hold it and read it, I was forced that way in character to read it, and to impart that information on Josh and stuff, and that became a thing throughout the entire campaign. I still have all of them too.
I think like 20 maybe by the end, somewhere up in that range.
Different letters, and it was all Rob started getting real into it, where like all the different houses have their different colors, so he bought different candles to seal them with different colors and everything. Josh and I even wrote letters to each other in character at one point and sealed them and everything. It was fantastic. It was kind of our first big prop usage in our games, and one that's definitely stuck out. Turning the clock back a little bit to Threat Detected, we had a couple things too. For me in particular, in our first kind of downtime thing, I had Tor, go to this planet where he sensed this big, force presence, and he met this kind of shaman guy who taught him a thing or two, and was, he presented him with like a necklace at the end where he's like, Tor, you've learned a whole bunch of stuff, and this is a symbol of progressing and all that. And I went with Lauren to Michael's or Joanne's, and we bought some clay and everything and made the necklace. And I had it hanging up from my desk for the longest time. It's waiting to get back up now. And I remember I was like, this is so cool. Like I have that big connection to it for that reason. I remember I wore it to the next session that we played, and then I rolled the most terrible I had throughout the entire campaign, so I stopped wearing it. But I still have it, and I still like it quite a bit. And I still also fully intend to make a lightsaber for Tor. I have the pipe that I want to do it. I just got to get some more pieces for it.
Yeah,
someday.
Garrett had us make stuff for well, not had us, but I think we got like a free fate point or something like that.
You got a free Destiny point.
Destiny point, that's what they're called. My God. But yeah, I made a necklace, and I know quite a few of the other guys made different things, and it was fun just like having something that was your characters in real life, like just that little tiny thing that I made out of clay and painted myself. It meant a whole lot. I put a lot of effort into it and stuff because I cared about it. And
yeah, I think
neat. Yeah.
Ron brought in like the real kit, which kind of like this absinthe kind of strainer tea thing that he bought or concocted or something. And I think he had like all the vials he got from like the thrift store where it was like, here's all the different things, and he mixed it together and he poured it out, and it was really cool.
Yeah, just a little thing like that can just, I don't know, it's a cherry on top of a good sundae.
Kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, Lauren had drawn small little pictures of a lot of our characters, just little like, I don't know, index card size, kind of portraits. She put our names underneath all of them, and we went to Kinko's, got them laminated and cut them up, and we used those as initiative cards. So you would be like, okay, Rama goes first, then Tor, then whoever, and you were able to look up the board, see a visual representation of those characters, and when in the order they were going. And I still have those, and I love them quite a bit. It's some great work.
So they're really good, and I am still angry at Lauren to this day for not doing a Tull one for me.
We keep pestering her. Someday maybe we'll get it.
Someday I'll get a Tull one, maybe.
I want to see the Tull one.
Me too. What else? I know in the Star Wars game that I ran, the big kind of MacGuffin sort of thing was they had to collect like 3 different keys that were going to open this big huge thing, and I actually got like the keys. I found like this old like kind of skeleton looking key I'd have from some toy or thing or whatever, and I was like, you guys find this in a box, and I had a little like a box for it and stuff, and a couple other things like that. What's that?
I totally forgot about that. You said it, and I just had all these memories flashback from those.
Yeah. What in Dresden Files, you bought a fan because your character Connie used like a fan for like her wind magic. It was kind of like a wand, essentially, a focus item. And Rob bought that and would like flip it out and be like Barramoose and like swing it around for the spell.
I still have it. I have it right here in front of me now.
Mm-hmm. But there's been a ton of things that we've used for everything from those to. Little small representations of things. When I was cleaning out my house to move, there was a couple things where my mom was like, do you want this? I was like, no, that's stupid. I don't need that. That's trash. And then the voice in my head was like, that would be perfect props for the One Ring campaign you're going to run soon, Tony. And I was like, oh, God, throw it in the box. So they're sitting around in the house somewhere waiting.
Even in Planescape we did... They both had like Tony and Josh both had little like animal companion familiars. Josh was like a wild mage, and he had this chameleon buddy who rode around with him and changed colors and didn't do a whole lot, but was super awesome. And Tony had a spider that lived in his druid's hair, Radagast style. And yeah, we basically went out and Lauren already had a spider plushie that we took and made spider, and then Josh bought like a chameleon beanie baby that we always brought around, and
I think it was for Halloween. Your mom had sent like a basket of stuff, and it had like those little rubber spiders in it, and that's what I used for spider most of the time.
Halloween is the best time for gamers.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, are any of those Halloween stores open yet? I could probably go and grab some cool props and stuff.
Okay, so
Vittler's, the at Five and Dime store south of the city, they have a section of hats. Oh. You can get Civil War hats, cowboy hats, pirates hats, Robin Hood hats, London cop hat, any hat you want, they have.
Yeah, I think the most prop-ridden character I've had was probably Cthulhu, though.
Yeah.
Donald J. at Chance Investigations was a private eye, and you know I had like an old Zippo lighter that I'd gotten that I would always flick open, and I had who doesn't use a pretzel or a pencil as a cigarette in a game, right? So I was always doing that. At one point, I got a little like iron bell that would like magically like repel things or something. So I found this little bell that was in like the curio cabinet at home, and I was like, "This is my bell," and all sorts of stuff.
Wow, that made me think of my One World of Darkness character, Jordan. He was a chain smoker, like he just smoked one after the other. So I would always, I had a pencil that I'd broken in half that I always had in my hand while we were gaming, and like would smoke off of it like the whole session because Jordan always had a cigarette in his hand.
Yeah, it's interesting though. You have your gaming space, and all these props act as focus items to draw you further into the game, and it can work with your space. It can take away from some of the distractions of your space, that sort of thing, to really kind of further that immersion, which I think we're all trying to achieve as much as we can.
Even just going out and buying something or making something, it shows the other side of the table that you care, I guess. So, I spend the time to write out letters and seal them up with wax. That shows those guys that I really care about that campaign. I care about, Game of Thrones or whatever we're running, and that I'm putting effort into it, and for them, and they see that and appreciate that. The GM sees his players with props and hanging out with stuff. They know that they care about their characters, which means they probably like your campaign at least a little bit because they care about their own characters.
Absolutely.
As a gesture, props are a great thing. I highly recommend them in all their forms.
Yep.
I can't remember.
Did
I provide any props during Threat Detected?
I remember several sessions where I had...
You had a lightsaber remote control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that I remember holding on to quite heavily. Gosh, was there... well, I mean, so many of your Star Wars toys made it to the table.
Yeah.
Much more than just the Star Wars minis and everything. You had your big AT-AT, which I've seen several times.
People took pictures of that thing at Queen City. It was amazing.
Also, you had a hut toy. I remember when we met Darga, and I was like, "What the hell is this thing?" And you're like, "It's a hut toy." I was like, "It sure is. This is cool as hell." And like, he essentially used it as his mini, and it was fantastic. Yeah, I remember a lot of that stuff. I mean, toys make great props for anything.
Mm-hmm. So, are you buying a couple on eBay of the Lord of the Rings toys and stuff for your campaign?
I don't know about that. There are certain things that I think I might want to look into, but
you gotta get a wizard's hat.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe something like that. There's replicas for everything.
I'll bug Enya again. She promised that she would make me a Gandalf hat. We'll get her to make you one.
Yeah, no, that anything and everything can be used. I remember in Dresden Files in particular, since it's kind of a very investigation kind of game in some ways, Rob and Josh had notebooks that they were like little, we're going to write down clues and stuff, and it was like popping out their clue book, and having all that stuff. And so that was, just a little thing that A, helped them for the game to just remember what was going on and stuff, and then B, to, be like, oh, well, my character's actually taking notes and doing this and that. very interesting.
Very cool. And the final thing I have for you, another thing they discussed, which I thought was interesting, was creating like a stage environment when you're using minis and maps, because oftentimes the dice and the character sheets will cross over into that realm and kind of detract from the immersion factor. And they had an idea of, like I have with my gaming table at home, which is yet to be used for a live game, a raised area where everything is separate that is on the table to kind of create a little more immersion, or to use like pizza box, those little circles that come in the middle of it, to boost up with a cardboard box on top to raise it a little bit above it so that the dice and stuff aren't on. Do you have thoughts on that? Do you think that's important or adds to it?
It's a little tough because we don't play too many games that use minis.
Or at least we don't use minis for them.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that we did was when I did Star Wars, and I used maps where I had some that were applicable, but for a lot of times I just had kind of like the bare table, and we would put the minis on it, and just be like, okay, well, you're roughly this far away, and I'd use like dice or little things that I had to just be like, there's a wall here or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, there's kind of two ways you can think about it. First of all, you don't want things to go careening into minis and forget where things were, because that can cause problems and stuff. But I like the idea of keeping things free from your minis and stuff. I think that's probably a good habit to have.
I think there's something to be said for having like a stage, so to speak, for stuff. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Game of Thrones because it's probably the biggest game where we had like minis of any sort.
I'll agree with that.
Because we had a lot of battles, so we had usually we'd use like chess pieces for like these are the cavalry and these are foot soldiers and stuff. But I had bought a bunch of Game of Thrones maps that they released, like official maps of Westeros, and there's like one of King's Landing, and more than once we used the King's Landing map, which is the pretty much capital city of Westeros. It's got like all the walls and districts of the city for like naval battles and stuff, and just kind of having them down there. We played on the pool table, like we said before. Having them kind of, it was actually a lowered space being a pool table, but having all the minis there kind of as a set, while all our dice and our notes for our units kind of off to the side, I think had a really good feeling to it. Like Tony said, it felt like you were a commander looking at a map with units on it that were really battling out there that you updated as the battle went on. There's definitely something to be said for that kind of presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're gonna put a map out on a table and maybe it fills your entire table, a box top or something on the floor, you can roll your dice in there and not lose them or anything, and still keep things separate. I definitely think that's a good idea. How far you want to take it is up to you. I remember when we were doing Threat Detected, you had those T boxes for like 3 different layers of confrontation and maps at 3 different areas around the room and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot going on, which was not bad. And you never wanted to kind of, because it's like looking at a picture, right? You don't want something to come in and just go, well, that's not supposed to be there. Let's get out of here.
Excellent. Any last thoughts about gaming space and props?
I think that kind of like what Rob said earlier, the best thing that you can probably do is make a space that is as free from outside distractions as possible. Like people coming in or loud noises, or you don't want to have a TV on, or people screaming that you can hear, that sort of thing. Because when you get into that I am your father moment, the last thing you want to do, I am your hey blah blah blah, and just totally kill a mood, and then you have to come back 5 minutes later and go, your father, I'm your father. So I think that's probably the most important thing. I think that anywhere can be a gaming space. You just gotta put the work into it.
Excellent. Rob?
I think get to know your players and know what your players need. Some people could sit out in a backyard and imagine incredible gamescapes all in their head. Some people, need maybe some maps or pictures of things to kind of help them get to that picture in their head. So, you know, if you know your group, you know what they'll need and probably what they'll like after a fashion too.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys, and we will talk to you next time for more game mastering advice.
Always fun.
Thanks, Garrett.